Sucking up all.
This is Carlton. It's now 6 o'clock and time for the day's Central News.
Central News at 6 with Dawson and Wesley Smith.
Good evening. Our main stories tonight.
Dumped in a holdall, a baby boy found abandoned in an alleyway.
And pensions and petrol. Has Brown diffused the protests? A newborn baby boy has been found abandoned in an alleyway. He'd been put in a holdall, and the man who found him says he almost threw the bag in the bin.
Police say they're not treating the incident as a criminal matter, but they are now carrying out house-to-house inquiries to try to trace the baby's mother.
Safe and sound, but this baby boy almost ended up being thrown in the bin. He was found in a holdall dumped in an alleyway near the centre of Gloucester. The bag was spotted by a neighbour. If the baby hadn't cried, he says he would have thrown the bag away.
I just walked down there, brought it back with me because I was going to have a cup of tea. I brought it out in the road and put it on this truck. And as I was walking away from the truck, it murmured like. And I thought, wonder what that is. But I thought it was a kid's toy, you know, in the bag. But you press his tummy, you know. And I went and got the lady from over the road there. And I opened the bag and she pulled the cloth back and there was this baby in there.
The baby is now being looked after by nurses at the Gloucestershire Royal Hospital. Doctors say he's perfectly healthy, even though he was abandoned just hours after he was born.
This baby, very young baby, less than a day old, was found abandoned and was brought to us. Safe and sound now, doing very well, had something to eat, so we're quite pleased with the way that the baby's doing, but we are worried about the mum.
Police are now trying to trace the baby's mother. He was wrapped up in a blanket inside the bag. They're hoping someone might recognise them.
We believe her to be alone out there, and at the moment this is not a criminal investigation as such. We very much want her to come forward either to ourselves or to the hospital so that she can get the help that she needs.
Officers are questioning neighbours close to the alleyway where the baby was found. They're hoping someone might have seen whoever dumped the bag there. They say it's vital they get in touch with the mother as soon as possible in case she needs help. In the meantime, her baby boy will be looked after by nurses.
Well, still ahead on Central News at 6, close it down. BSE waste raises health fears at chemical plant. And the day the Queen popped in for a chat. So now we know it's good news for pensioners in the Chancellor's pre-budget statement.
But things don't look so good for drivers.
Single pensioners get another £5 a week in the 2001 budget. For couples, it's £8. There'll be rises above inflation the following year.
Poorer pensioners get another £700 a year in credits, while all pensioners will this year be getting £200 for their winter allowance.
There's 3 pence a litre off petrol and diesel as Britain changes over to ultra-low sulphur fuel. A freeze on petrol and diesel duty for at least the next 18 months and lower road tax on cars up to 1,500 cc's.
For hauliers, there'll be cuts in the excise duty on lorries, help in replacing older vehicles, and a new Brit Disc scheme to make foreign hauliers pay for using British roads. Now, when pensions went up by just 75 pence a week last year, it sparked fury among the elderly and defeat for Labour at their party conference. So will today's announcement of the biggest rise in pensions for years help to repair the damage? Our reporter Di Evans watched the Chancellor's statement with a group of pensioners in Gloucestershire.
After careful budgeting all their working lives, Vernon and Phyllis Holland looked forward to retirement. They didn't expect it to be such a struggle to make ends meet. A budget-improved pension and system would have eased their lifestyle, but once again they and their friends were greeted with disappointment.
What would I like to have seen? Well, first off, the link brought back with minimum earnings and a basic increase of at least £10 for a couple, at least £10. But to put it back to where it was before, we should have been getting £140 a week.
Having been self-employed all our lives, we've tried to provide for our old age, and we find that, well, really, we haven't provided sufficiently. We thought we were, but we haven't.
To have a means-tested allowance is not
going to be very popular. A lot of people won't. It's beneath their dignity to go and ask for means-tested relief.
The Hollands say the £5 increase for single pensioners will hardly pay a weekly milk bill, and their £8 will have little impact on their monthly outgoings.
So, those pensioners are still not happy. What about the drivers? The fuel protesters wanted big cuts in duty, and they haven't got it. Our reporter Richard Martin is at a filling station in Swindon. Richard, what's the reaction there?
Well, the Chancellor made his statement a couple of hours ago, but the news got down to the motorists very, very quickly indeed. I spoke to a few of them here in Swindon a couple of moments ago. This was their reaction.
I think it's fantastic news, to be honest. I have to say I'm very lucky. My employer pays for all my business and private petrol as well, but my wife's got a car and she uses quite a bit of petrol.
It's just something to keep them quiet for a little while. You know, I don't think it's going to be of any use to anybody.
I'm quite happy with indirect taxation anyway, so I wasn't in favour of the fuel protests.
Well, with me now I have got a couple of people from the haulage and farming industries. Mike Durham, who runs his own company here in Swindon. Mike, the Chancellor said he was listening to you. Do you believe he has?
We would have to reluctantly accept that he has listened, but the concessions that he's made do not go anywhere near far enough towards addressing the fundamental problems. And that is that the price of fuel in this country is just simply too high for that to be sustained by the industry.
Kelvin, do you believe that he has done enough now to avert any future protest?
That will be discussed by people involved with the People's Fuel Lobby and Farmers for Action. As far as I can see, I don't see there's anything tremendously helpful towards the loss-making situations faced by many British farmers at the moment. So no, he's obviously listened, but there's nothing substantial there.
Kelvin Lindsley from Farmers for Action, thank you very much indeed. Well, the opinion here seems to be that more protests are inevitable. Whether the public has the stomach for it, well, only time will tell.
Let's join our political editor, Peter Hayes, in Westminster now. Peter, pensioners have hit the jackpot. Whatever happened to prudence?
Yeah, it was a bit like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He kept saying, I don't want to give you that, I want to give you more, much more. And of course, the biggest cheer came when he announced that the winter fuel allowance, up to £200, will be going out by cheque to every pensioner household next week. But what will really buy off the pensioners is the increase in the basic state pension, £5 for single people and £8 for couples. But Gordon Brown said he could afford all this. He's still prudent.
Has he, though, done enough to diffuse the fuel protests?
You'd think so at first sight, but in fact, of course, most motorists and hauliers would want a lot more than he actually gave, and we still have among the highest fuel tax rates in Europe. So protests are still possible, but Gordon Brown reckons that what he's done for hauliers is the equivalent of an 8p cut for every litre of diesel. But I think we're going to hear a lot more about this.
Come on then, Peter, is this the start of the election campaign?
Absolutely. You know, it wasn't so much like a pre-budget statement as the budget itself. He seemed to have something for almost everybody, and certainly Labour MPs in marginal seats will be sleeping a lot easier tonight. The Tories, of course, say this is all bribery, but that's politics for you.
Peter Hayes, thank you.
A 26-year-old man is still being questioned about the murder of a Hindu priest. Harish Purohit, who worked in Milton Keynes, was stabbed to death at his home in Leicester 2 weeks ago. The woman killed in yesterday's coach crash on the M40 has been named as 60-year-old Mavis Wyman from Witney. She just returned from holiday with her sister, who was also injured when the Oxford Express from Heathrow hit a lorry and a recovery truck on the hard shoulder at Tetsworth near Oxford.
Revelations that BSE waste was secretly stored at a chemical plant have brought renewed demands for it to be closed down.
The plant was hit by a series of explosions last week and is now also flooded. Local people say their health is at risk.
The flooded CSG chemical reprocessing plant at Sandhurst near Gloucester. An explosion sent a cloud of poisonous fumes over villagers. And now the news that if the fire had spread just a little further, they could also have been inhaling a different kind of waste.
There were some very low-level waste there which contained washings from the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, which said to have contained BSE washings.
This is not what people who live near the site wanted to hear.
But I really do think
that it is time that something is done about this to make sure that at the very least these proper regulations are installed and followed, but the best thing of it all would be to get rid of the damn thing.
The Environment Agency is investigating whether the company was allowed to store the 7 20-litre drums of BSE waste. If you've got BSE materials on the site that you didn't know about, how do you know there aren't other things there that you don't know about?
Well, I'm sorry, I can't answer that, can I?
Well, why don't you answer it? You're the managing director of the company. Why can't you answer that?
Because, excuse me, we are a company with 60 million turnover, 600 employees and 30 sites. Would you expect a managing director to know every item on every site? Would that be a reasonable assumption?
I'd expect you to know if you're storing things that you're not supposed to be storing.
Well, we don't know that that is the case, do we?
You are allowed to store BSE material.
I said I don't know whether that is the case.
But the local MP has heard enough. The plant must go.
One of my criticisms is not only about the floodplain, but the way the company is run, and that is one of the reasons I want the plant closed down. And the more you get into it, the more you find out about what is going on.
Sandhurst villagers wanted answers. There were some reassurances about their health, but if they came wanting to hear that CSG will be closed down, they left disappointed.
Floodwaters are causing more problems along the River Severn. Twigworth Church of England School near Gloucester has flooded for the second time in a week. Parents are being advised to contact the school tomorrow to see if it's reopening. Plans to build 4 more wind turbines at Nymphsfield near Stroud are in doubt after the discovery of rare Roman urn on nearby land. Campaigners opposing the plans say the application should be withdrawn and the site preserved.
Hundreds of people turned out in Oxford to see the Queen today.
She was in the city to officially open new student accommodation at the university. Not up to palace standards, but she seemed impressed.
A late morning natter in the kitchen. Part of everyday life for students, but not normally with the Queen. She came to Oxford to open this new accommodation block for Oriel College, and while she was here, it was a chance to check out the digs. After all, her grandson will be off to university himself this time next year, and she seemed to be impressed.
It was, well, quite overwhelming. She loved the power showers. First of all, I showed her the desk, which all the desks are more or less big enough for a banquet, so that was fine. She came through, loved the idea of hot water all the time, as we all do.
Oh, it was very exciting because actually I didn't know I would meet her last night. But last night I saw my name on the notice board and I couldn't sleep. So it was exciting because I met her in my personal kitchen.
From the gown, the Queen moved on to the town. A quick walkabout to meet some of the hundreds who gathered in Oriel Square to see her. For one little boy, it was a chance to make an impression.
I bowed to the Queen and gave her some flowers. And they said we came from Christchurch Cathedral School.
And what did she say to you?
Thank you for the flowers.
It's the Queen's 5th visit to the city in as many years. And once again, it puts a lot of smiles on people's faces.
Good day out for all.
Absolutely. We missed her though. Now then, we're taking a break. Still to come on Central News at 6. The King is crowned. Andy rules the roost.
It says you have to be a millionaire to enjoy this kind of seclusion.